Yes, yes, yes. Root 4 Sports Podcast. We are back and we are rolling. We have a fun-filled edition today with my man. Thursdays with the third. We skipped a week, but it's all right. We're back in the house. So aren't we, Ron Warner the third? What's happening, babe?
That's right. We almost couldn't have a name for it if you only go 2 wees, so I'm glad we got back on schedule.
Yeah, right. We can't go like every other Thursday with the third. That doesn't sound too cool, you know? We got to shape that up a little bit.
Nah.
All right, so we figured out we'd break it down to a couple of segments today because we got a lot to talk about. NBA, and we're going to start off with Major League Baseball, which actually started already. If you haven't noticed, the Oakland A's and the Mariners played a 2-game series in Japan at basically 2 o'clock in the morning for Mariners and Oakland A's fans. I mean, they either had to DVR it or stay up all night to watch it. Kind of crazy that they did that, and they've been doing it for a little while now, so it's not like it came out of nowhere, but you know, I have nothing against Japan or playing in any other country, you know, overseas or anything like that, but there's something that takes away from opening day baseball when it's not opening day, in America. And again, it's not a country dispute or anything like that, but then again, they're coming back and they're playing exhibition games before they restart. It's all wacky to me. I don't like the way they start out the season.
I wouldn't have a problem with them playing in Japan if they did it like Tuesdays, they play in Japan, Wednesday we get the Marlins in the new stadium, Thursday's opening day. At least you would have some momentum from that. But yeah, I agree, just having it randomly the week before, going back and playing spring training, and then the fact it wasn't even on ESPN, I don't think so.
Right, it wasn't even on MLB Network either. That's exactly right. That's the terrible thing about it also. Good point, that it wasn't even on TV. You couldn't even watch the very first game that counted for Major League Baseball on TV. And MLB Network got it right the second morning, and, they put it on, but still kind of ridiculous.
See, that's the one thing that MLB they still don't get it, like they're still stuck in their ways, where the NFL, can you imagine the NFL having an opening game that no one saw?
Oh, not a chance. Not a shot in the world, and that's why NFL triumphs everything, there's no doubt about it. And we'll certainly get into more of that, but looking forward to the Major League season because it is here. We did our fantasy drafts. We're going to get into that in a moment. 14-team league, which I'm completely against. That was ridiculous. There's way too many teams. I didn't even know any players at the end. I was starting to get to that.
It got rough.
It did. It got rough. It definitely got rough. But, your Yankees are always in it, man. They're always there. I mean, I can only remember one year they didn't make the playoffs, and I think that was Girardi's first year. And basically they're there every year. They've won 5 championships recently in the past 15 years. The one question I have about them is their pitching staff. Talk to me about that. Tell me how confident you are.
Well, I mean, I love CC always. I have full confidence in him. I'm 100% with the trade. Anytime you could trade a catcher who doesn't really have a true catcher position, he might just be a designated hitcher for a young, talented, hard-throwing pitcher, I think you take that deal.
Okay.
I don't know too much about Kuroda. I know he's an average, good 4 starter, and then I really liked what Nova did at the end of last year. So
me too.
I don't think their pitching. I worry more a little bit about maybe some of their aging hitters. Their pitching seems like it'll be decent.
And speaking of aging, one of their aging pitchers is coming back. Andy Pettitte surprises everybody and comes out of retirement pulling like a Michael Jordan or something like that. I don't know what it was, but I guess he can. I'm sure he can bring something. Look, that guy's a money pitcher, especially in the playoffs.
I would never say anything bad about Andy Pettitte. I mean, he's been one of the best Yankees there is. I always wondered why more people didn't do what Clemens did, where you are an older pitcher, so you don't want to go through the whole season. So you come in the middle, and he had great. It might have been tampered success, but he had success at the second half of the year. So I always wondered why a pitcher couldn't make that move. It's not like other sports where you have to learn the playbook and this and that.
Right.
If you come in at June, help someone on the stretch run, it seems like a great idea. So once again, it could only help. I mean, they didn't wait. Yankees don't worry about money anyway, so getting petted on, sure, come on.
Exactly right. There you go. All right, so maybe they're looking good. They still have obviously a very formidable lineup. If Teixeira can possibly get it going in April, maybe they'll jump out to an early lead. But the Red Sox are a tough team. The Rays are a tough team. Now Bobby V is managing the Red Sox. So they're in a tough division. Now you got the whole new wild card format, which I'm really against. I wrote an article, on my blog and everything with my distaste.
Toronto isn't really anything to. They're no soft series, so
right.
It's a tough division. I still like Yankees and Tampa as the best too. Something about Bobby Cox and a lot of. I feel like he's almost. Maybe this is just him, but
Bobby Valentine.
Bobby Valentine. It just feels like maybe he's just trying to live up to the Bobby Valentine persona, starting all this trouble, and I don't know. I don't know how good that relationship's going to be.
Well, I'm sure as a Yankee fan, you really don't like it too much, but we'll see. The weird thing about it is, I guess the Yankees and Red Sox could play in that one-game wild card. Actually, if the Rays win the division,
right?
Yeah, that can happen. So I guess it's interesting. It's just that to me, it's watering it down. I mean, if you go back to just 1993, there were 4 less teams, and you only had 2 teams from each league, make the playoffs. So it kind of takes away from it a little bit. It takes away from the regular season, which is already extremely long and crazy to me. But let's go to my Mets just for a second. I don't expect anything out of them this year at all, so I'll just hit on that real quick. I mean, if Johan Santana can give us a good half a year, I'll be ecstatic. Mike Pelfrey is still disgusting. It's the worst possible thing ever when you expect him to be a number 1 starter, and he just is miserable. And
just him and Phil Hughes have a very similar baseball trajectory where they were supposed to be something special, and they've just kind of hung around in the middle.
Yeah, that's not a bad comparison. Although I say I would take Phil Hughes over Mike Pelfrey in a second.
I would take him too, but not by a lot. I mean, Pelfrey has a lot of. I always see just odd things when he's pitching. Like I don't know. Like I don't want to judge what he's thinking about, but I don't know, just falling off mounds and I don't know. There's something weird going on with him.
It is weird. It is. How about the whole National League, I guess, as a whole? The Cardinals. I really don't expect much. You talk about aging guys, Lance Berkman. I don't think he could possibly do what he did last year. Pujols is gone. In that division now, Prince Fielder now, he's gone over to the American League, so Ryan Braun's basically batting by himself in the middle of that Milwaukee lineup. What about maybe the Reds coming out of that division? They're the team I really like this year.
I picked the Reds a couple years ago as like a wild card team when they made it. So, and then they had their fall off last year. But
right.
I don't want to write off St. Louis though right away. They're one of those teams that whenever you think they're out of it, they just make runs and win World Series. And I know they lost Pujols.
Well, yeah, that's the key thing. I mean, that's the key thing out of all of them. I mean, you're 100% right. They got a great manager, and they seem to always come and pull it out. They lost the World Series to the Red Sox, even so they were in 3 in the past, I think, 7 years or whatever.
Maybe Freese finally steps up and stays healthy and hits like he did in the postseason. And we know Beltran and Berkman, they're a little old, but I mean, those guys still hit. So
you're right.
Maybe they'll surprise someone. And then the NL East that seems like a stacked division. I think the Phillies, their run might be over. They might be a little too old, but you got teams coming in that division.
I'm with you on the Phillies. I don't like them, actually. I didn't even pick them to go to the playoffs this year, as a matter of fact, and I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but it is a tough division. I think that Washington is up and coming. I've always liked I don't like the Braves. I hate the Braves, but they're always a good team, and, they got guys like Freddie Freeman, and if Jason Hayward can come around and play better, they got a bunch of good players, but what about
their bullpen broke down at the end of last year with some of those big blown saves, but they're young pitchers that are really good. So
Craig Campbell's one of the top closers. Yeah, no doubt about it. But one team we didn't talk about who's got a brand new stadium, and they're right there where you live, and they got a few new faces and a new new manager.
And the worst home run thing ever created. This thing?
What is this? No, I haven't. Tell me.
Just do me a favor. Just somebody look up this thing on YouTube, Miami Marlins home run statue. It is so weird and awful and awesome. No. So just check that out.
All right, I'm definitely going to check that out as soon as we get off. There's no doubt about it. But it's not. I know they're not you guys, but down in Miami, took my boy Jose Reyes, and now
I love
looks
Reyes.
like Canley.
I like Canley Ramirez.
He's moving over to third, right?
But I like him. I'm apologize because I don't know how to pronounce the name, but formerly known as Mike Stanton.
Right.
Just a complete. He's like a machine. Like he is built. I think he was sculpted to just play baseball. Like that guy is such a beast. My team, though, that I think I'm gonna pick them to go to the World Series. I'm gonna throw that out already. I just love Anaheim. Like
really,
they're always good. With they've always been like 1 or 2 players away. Like you've always been like, oh, Anaheim's going to get CC, Anaheim's going to get A-Rod, they never got that guy, and they've had lineups that maybe weren't as dominant as some of the other teams, but Socha just always keeps them in it. They're always in the mix, and now they finally got a couple guys. I just think they're going to be a big problem. I think Texas, you don't go to 3 World Series in a row. Like they had their chance. I think Anaheim is going to come through, and I think Texas isn't going to make the playoffs. That's my pick.
All right, that's an interesting one because Texas, like you say, back-to-back World Series, so they've been the real deal for a while. But I'm with you. I've always liked the Angels, and now that they've added, Albert Pujols, I mean, geez, they're great. And you know what? If you can get something out of Kendrick,
could just come in and be like a number 3 starter. You know, that's a great. You know, they might have signed him for maybe a little too much, but if he's your number 3 behind Weaver and Santana, I mean, you got a nice little pitching staff there. So
no doubt. And you know what? And even if Kendrick Morales can stay healthy this year, that guy can hit a ton. You know, so they definitely have a good lineup. They got good pitching, and you know, so we'll see. Let's spend a couple of minutes on fantasy. All right, we have to get to it. Just have to get to this real quick because again, 14-team league. I had the 11th pick. And I can't believe I got Joey Votto with the 11th. I'm surprised he dropped that low. Guys that went before him, Matt Kemp first, Tulowitzki, Albert Pujols, Miguel Cabrera, Batista, Carlos Gonzalez.
And they're all that's pretty normal, you know. Like for the first round, that's
that makes sense.
In the first round, you know you're going to get a big name. Whichever of the names, you know, somebody is going to be there with a huge name, huge star power. I think that was a fair place for Votto. My number 1 guy would have been Kemp, just because I love guys who get numbers across the board.
I agree 100%. He was my MVP. I picked him preseason. I said Matt Kemp would be the MVP last year, and as it turned, maybe he should have been. I don't know the whole discrepancy with the.
I mean, that's the thing about fantasy. If you want to stay in matchups every week, it's better to have guys who compete in more categories. So, like, if I had the choice between Cabrera and Kemp, I'd take Kemp because he gives you more across the board than what Cabrera would give you.
Well, I agree with that, but here's one thing I want to say about fantasy baseball real quick. People put way too much emphasis on 2 categories. One is stolen bases, and the other is saves, excuse me. And they're just individual categories, and I agree with you because Kemp is different because he's got power, and he can do the RBIs and the whole deal. He's got it all, 5-tool player, but I'm not going to jump after a Jose Reyes in the first round because he may steal 60 bases.
Not just for steals, but if you can get one of these guys like Kemp who gets you, and he doesn't do it anymore, but someone like what A-Rod used to do, where he would still get you 25 steals, you can win steals like that without having to have your starting shortstop be D. Gordon just because he gets a lot of steals.
No, I'm with you, and then, again, that's different when you're talking about guys like A-Rod, again, in his heyday, no question about it. He was, the real deal, and he would get, maybe 25,
I like guys who get his, and I also have 2 things that I look for. These are my 2, I'll throw this out there because the draft is over, so none of my friends will steal it, even though I tell them all anyways, but I love free agent to be and players who are 27 because
27 specifically. All right, that's
there's so many stats that just say that's the number that when players get in their prime. And if you can find a combo, like I loved BJ Upton this year because he's 27 and a free agent.
Yeah.
For a guy who has mental lapses, nothing cleans those up like an impending free agency contract. So,
yeah. Unfortunately, he's starting the season on the DL though.
Who, BJ Upton?
Yep. I just heard the news early today.
He'll be back.
Oh, he will be. He's a very good athlete. And his brother's a damn good athlete too. But we'll wrap up the fantasy talk for now. We're just getting started. I had a couple of guys from the A's who just stunk it up for me already over these first couple of games. I actually got
one thing about fantasy baseball.
Oh, tell me. Go ahead.
Not a lot of people play. A lot of more people do football than baseball. It really is like having another job.
It is.
So just get ready because it's an everyday thing.
That's the thing, right? There are some leagues that do it. You set your lineup once per week, but we do it every day because you never know what's going to happen.
And that's why the people that really care about it end up making the playoffs a lot because it's hard. It's not easy. It's not like football with one lineup change a week. You have to be on top of it.
I'm with you, man. I agree 100%. You want to talk some basketball? You want to come back? We'll take a quick break and we'll come back and do a little NBA action.
Let's do it.
All right, my man. All right, so we're going to come back. Root for Sports Podcast. Go to www.rootforsports.com. Check us out on Twitter. Mine's at SportsProfit1. R-Dubs, where you at?
Right here.
What's the Twitter handle?
Oh, what is it? I don't even ever check that thing.
RW3, check him out.
RW3, I think?
Yes, he brings good insight. Don't worry, I'll flash it up on the screen. We'll come back in a few minutes and we'll do some NBA, all right?
Later.
All right, Ben.